Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're venturing into the fascinating and often unspoken world of body language.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
Totally.
Right.
We've got this really rich transcript featuring Con Edley, who's, a body language expert and co-founder of CogniQ.
Right.
And our goal, really, is to unpack the key insights into all these nonverbal signals.
Mm.
We want to equip you, our listener, with a better understanding of what you might be communicating without even saying a word.
And how to read those subtle cues in others, too.
Exactly. Connelly, through her work with Body Speaks Better and CogniQ, she brings this really deep understanding of how nonverbal stuff impacts our interactions.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond just the words, isn't it? Understanding the underlying messages being sent.
Spot on. So by the time we're done with this deep dive, you'll hopefully have some truly actionable knowledge.
Like what sort of things?
Well, things like power dynamics, maybe spotting potential deception.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah. And navigating social situations a bit more easily, building stronger connections.
Yeah.
We're aiming for those, aha moments.
Without getting totally overwhelmed by it all.
Precisely. Practical stuff. So let's start right at the beginning. What about those initial, almost subconscious signs of attraction that Connelly highlighted?
Okay, yeah, that was interesting. One point she makes is about where someone's gaze goes, like, immediately after a shared laugh.
Immediately, yeah.
Yeah, very quick. Often, the first person they glance at is the one they feel most drawn to. It's super fleeting, often missed.
I'll have to watch for that. What else?
She also mentioned the direction of people's feet, when they're talking or sitting near each other.
Nice feet, really.
Uh-huh. If their feet are subtly pointing towards one another, it can suggest, like, a connection or engagement.
Wow.
What's fascinating is how these small, seemingly tiny movements can actually reveal underlying feelings.
It really makes you wonder about all those silent conversations happening around us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears. How can we consciously use our own body language to project, say, power and confidence?
Right, that's practical. She emphasizes the importance of open posture.
Open posture.
Yeah. Think keeping your chest and shoulders comfortably open, not like tense or rigid, but relaxed open.
Okay.
A slight natural lift of the chin can also convey confidence. Just slight, though.
Not like you're looking down your nose at people.
Exactly. And then there's the gaze. A steady gaze is important. Not aggressive, but steady. Avoid, your eyes darting all over the place.
Shifty eyes. Got it.
And finally, keeping your hands visible, out of your pockets. It just suggests openness, approachability.
So it sounds like it's mainly about presenting an open, sort of engaged presence.
Pretty much, yeah. Calm and present.
Now, here's a topic I think many find really intriguing. Detecting deception. Candidly stresses this crucial first step, establishing someone's baseline behavior.
Yeah.
Can you explain why that's so important?
Oh, absolutely key. Establishing a baseline is, well, it's essentially understanding what's normal for that specific person when they're being truthful.
Okay, normal for them.
Right. This means watching their typical rate of blinking, how often they use hand gestures, what kind, how often they naturally smile, their usual tone of voice, stuff like that.
How do you figure that out?
Cananley suggests asking neutral questions first, things they don't have to think too hard about or lie about.
Like what?
Oh, their favorite hobby or maybe a nice part of their last holiday, something easy. That gives you a benchmark.
Right, a benchmark. Okay.
Yeah.
So you compare their behavior against that when you get to tougher questions.
Exactly. So once you have that personalized normal, you can start looking for deviations, changes that might signal something's amiss.
Okay, so what are some key indicators Canadley points to? Potential signs of dishonesty.
Well, several things stand out. One is what's called cognitive load.
Cognitive load.
Yeah, basically when someone is making stuff up, the extra mental effort, the thinking involved, it can paradoxically lead to them moving less, a decrease in overall body movement.
Less movement. That's counterintuitive. I think nervous energy would make them fidgety.
Sometimes, yes, but often the concentration needed to maintain the lie makes them become more still. Another clue involves pacifiers.
Pacifiers. Like for babies.
No, well, sort of the same principle.
Right.
Self-soothing gestures. These are like non-sexual ways people might touch themselves, rubbing their neck, playing with hair, fiddling with a ring.
Okay.
These can indicate discomfort or maybe a lack of confidence in what they're actually saying.
Interesting. So fewer movements might be a red flag, and those little self-touches could suggest anxiety. What about hand movements specifically?
Yes. Changes in the frequency or type of hand movements can be very telling. Connolly shared this interesting example.
Yeah.
Someone told two travel stories. One was real, about Europe. The other, about New York, was potentially fabricated. The real story, Europe, had more natural hand gestures flowing with the story. But when they talked about New York, their hand movements dropped off significantly. Fewer gestures.
Less gesturing on the potential lie. Why?
Again, likely cognitive load. Too busy thinking about the details. Interestingly, though, in the real European story, there was a brief shoulder shrug at one point, which might suggest a tiny bit of uncertainty even there.
Huh.
And the New York story. That one also had more face-touching gestures, which again can signal lack of confidence or stress.
So a noticeable shift in their usual gesturing, plus maybe more self-soothing stuff, could be warning signs.
Could be. It's about clusters of behavior, not just one thing, and always compared to their baseline.
Right, right. Context is key. And what about the classic avoiding eye contact? Did she mention that?
Well, changes in eye contact can be a factor, sure, but in this transcript, Connolly seemed more focused on these other subtle cues, the changes in overall movement, hand gestures, the self-soothing things.
Okay.
She also mentions a classic tactic, deflection.
Ah, changing the subject.
Exactly. Or, delaying an answer when faced with a tricky question. It's just a way to avoid addressing the awkward bit directly.
Makes sense. A way to sidestep the heat. Now, Connolly also shared a personal story, didn't she? About a job interview where her body language reading had a surprising outcome.
Oh, yeah. That anecdote really highlights the complexities, doesn't it?
What happened?
Well, she observed several nonverbal cues between two people on the interview panel.
Like what?
Their bodies were oriented towards each other. They were sitting quite close. Maybe some subtle touching, like an elbow nudge, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Based on these signals, she formed the impression that maybe they were having an affair and weren't fully engaged in the interview.
Whoa. And she said something.
Apparently, when asked about her strongest skill, she mentioned reading body language and then, perhaps a bit too directly,
Oh, no.
shared her observation about the panelists.
Wow, that takes guts. Or maybe
Yeah.
something else. How did that go down?
Not well. Not well at all. Her comments were, unsurprisingly, not appreciated, and she was ultimately dismissed.
Ouch.
Yeah, the feedback was apparently about her behavior and attitude being unsuitable. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it?
Definitely.
Understanding body language gives insights, but you've got to be really careful about the context and how, or even if, you use that information. Sometimes keeping observations to yourself is the wiser move.
Yeah, a definite cautionary tale. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk social interactions. Connolly mentioned these secret dating signs within a friend group. That sounds like something many people might find quite interesting.
Absolutely. Who isn't curious about that? She points out several subtle nonverbal cues that might hint at a romantic spark between friends.
Like, what should we look for?
Okay, so keep an eye out for an increase in preening gestures.
Preening. Like birds.
Kind of like someone frequently adjusting their hair or smoothing their clothes, especially when that certain person is around or looking.
Okay, subtle vanity boosts.
Basically. Also, that first gaze after laughter we talked about earlier, that applies here too. Who do they look at first in the group?
Right.
Feet pointing towards each other, even when they're part of a larger group conversation, can suggest that silent connection.
Feet again. Okay.
You might also notice a subtle increase in physical touch between them, like brief touches on the arm or back, and maybe more eye contact that lingers just a fraction longer than usual.
Fascinating. These little tells. You mentioned preening gestures. Connolly also said those can mean other things too, right? Like cognitive load or deception.
Exactly. Which just underscores the importance of context, doesn't it? You can't just take one gesture in isolation. It's the whole picture.
Makes sense. What about body language cues that seem pretty universal, things that work across different cultures?
Yeah, she touched on that. Basic facial expressions, happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust. Those tend to be recognized pretty much everywhere.
The basics.
But she brought up an interesting exception from Dr. Paul Ekman's work, the expression for contempt.
Contempt. How does that look?
It's like a slight raising of one corner of the lip, a little sneer almost.
Okay.
Apparently that one isn't universally understood, especially in some very isolated tribes. The thinking is maybe the social structures or power dynamics that often lead to contempt aren't as much of a thing in those societies.
That's really insightful. Contempt being tied to social hierarchy, potentially.
Wow. Yeah. Eye contact is also generally important across cultures, But the specific rules around it, how long you hold it, who you make it with, that can vary a lot.
Which brings us neatly to cultural differences. Connolly gave some very specific examples, didn't she?
She did, yeah, some fascinating ones. Like, in some Eastern cultures, when you toast, it's a sign of respect for someone junior to clink their glass lower than the senior person's glass.
Lower, okay. Never knew that.
And greetings vary wildly. Kissing a woman's hand in some Russian communities, it can be seen as respectful, acknowledging the husband, complimenting the wife.
Right.
But that same gesture could be seriously offensive in some Middle Eastern cultures.
Wow. Same action, totally opposite meaning. That's a minefield.
It really can be. What else? Oh, bowing in Japan. It's incredibly nuanced. The angle of the bow, how long you hold it, it all signals different levels of respect.
It inflects.
And a junior person should stay bowed lower until the senior person starts to rise. In India, touching someone's feet is a traditional sign of deep respect.
Right, I've heard of that. Can feel awkward for outsiders, though.
It can, yeah. And the Indian head wobble, that side-to-side tilt. It often means okay or agreement, but it's more nuanced than a simple yes or no. Might be linked to classical dance neck movements, interestingly.
Huh.
But then you have gestures like the Kaho Jubin Kasari one. Apparently, that's considered pretty obscene in many other countries.
Good to know. These examples really hammer home that we can't just assume our own cultural understanding of body language works everywhere.
Definitely not. You have to be observant and adaptable.
Okay, let's talk about making a strong impression. Entering a room. Can Anley use the phrase owning the room? What does that actually look like, body language-wise?
Right, owning the room. It's about projecting quiet confidence, not arrogance. Again, posture is key. Chest and shoulders comfortably open.
Not puffed out like a soldier?
No, natural. Relaxed but upright. That slight natural lift of the chin again. A steady gaze that scans the room calmly, making brief contact, not, nervously flitting about.
Okay.
And hands relaxed and visible, not stuffed in pockets or clasped tightly. The key is natural confidence and ease. Avoid anything that feels forced or, overly rehearsed.
Right, authenticity matters. So it's a calm, confident, open presence. On the flip side, what are some common weak gestures people might display without realizing it?
Well, slumped posture is a big one. Makes you look defeated or disinterested.
Yeah.
Shifty eyes, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Also, passive listening cues, like not really looking at the speaker, looking distracted, not nodding or showing engagement. That can project weakness or just plain rudeness.
Okay, what else?
Excessive fidgeting, restless movements, constantly shifting your weight. It signals nervousness or discomfort. And a modern one, being glued to your phone in a social setting.
Ah, the phone shield.
Exactly. It often screens awkwardness or lack of interest in the actual people around you.
It sounds like a lot of these weak gestures come from feeling insecure or maybe not being truly present. Kennedy really stressed self-awareness as the first step to changing this. What did she mean?
Yeah, she emphasized that understanding your own typical body language and maybe digging into why you have those habits, sometimes it's rooted in childhood, past experiences,
Right.
Understanding that it's fundamental. It helps you project confidence more authentically. She actually cautioned against just trying to fake it till you make it.
Oh, why is that?
Because often if you're just putting on an act, it feels forced. It doesn't align with how you actually feel inside. And that disconnect can, ironically, make you feel even more insecure.
Ah, so the internal state leaks out anyway.
Pretty much. True confidence, she suggests, comes from a deeper self-understanding and self-acceptance, working on the inside first.
That's a really important distinction. Address the root cause,
Yeah.
not just the symptom. Okay, let's move into making yourself more magnetic in social settings, parties, public places. What were Kennelly's tips for attracting people, drawing them in?
Right. Her advice starts with observation. Look at the group dynamics.
What kind of groups?
She suggests looking for mixed groups, not ones that seem super intense or cliquey nor totally withdrawn ones. Look for people with open foot positioning.
Feet again, as an invitation.
Yeah, it can be an unconscious signal. If there's space here, you can join. When you do approach, make good eye contact, not staring, but connecting, and offer a genuine smile.
A genuine one.
Yes, she specifically warns against that kind of forced, embarrassed smile that comes from insecurity.
I know the one.
And underpinning all this, she repeats the importance of actually working on any underlying insecurities first, so that the confidence you project is real.
How do you do that?
She even suggested an exercise. Make a list of things you don't like about yourself, physical, mental, whatever, then actively decide, Can I change this, or do I need to work on accepting it?
Wow, that's quite deep work for just going to a party.
Well, yeah, but it's about building that solid foundation of self-worth, which then naturally comes across.
Okay, fair enough. What about smaller settings, like, say, a birthday party where you only know the host? Feels more intimidating sometimes.
Yeah, good question. Canenley suggests gravitating towards neutral zones. High traffic areas like the food table or the drinks area.
Why there?
It's a natural mingling spot. People have a reason to be there. Subconsciously, maybe it's associated with abundance, sharing. It just feels less pressured.
Okay, the snack table strategy, I like it. What about starting conversations?
She recommends focusing compliments on taste and preferences rather than physical appearance.
The examples.
Things like someone's cool accessories, their choice of color, maybe complimenting the host on the party planning or the music choice. Things that show you notice their choices and effort.
Rather than just, you look nice.
Exactly. And she specifically advises avoiding compliments focused on the area from the neck down to the torso.
Really? Why that specific zone?
Her reasoning is that this area is often subconsciously guarded when people feel vulnerable or uncomfortable. Compliments directed there, even if well-intentioned, can feel too personal or be misinterpreted, especially early on.
Ah, okay. Intrusion into personal space, almost.
Sort of, but complimenting accessories like a unique necklace or watch,
Ah,
that can easily lead to a story about where they got it, and boom, you have a connection.
that's a really practical tip. Focusing on taste, choices, stories. What else helps build connection in those settings?
Showing genuine interest, obviously, asking follow-up questions based on their answers, continuing to notice and appreciate their tastes, but also,
Yes.
Canenley advises against becoming, like, overly available or sticking to just one person all night.
Don't be clingy.
Right.
Yeah.
Circulate a bit. Interact with different people. It actually increases your perceived value, paradoxically. A little bit of limited availability can make interactions feel more special, plus you meet more people.
Good point. Maximize your networking or just your fun. Now, Canenley also mentioned something called toxic healing. What on earth is that?
Yeah, interesting phrase. It describes people who maybe talk a good game about personal growth. They seem self-aware, use all the right buzzwords,
Okay.
but their underlying behaviors, their patterns, haven't actually changed. They're still exhibiting negativity or unhealthy dynamics. It's like a superficial layer of healing over the same old stuff.
A veneer of wellness.
Exactly. Cunningly shared an anecdote about deciding not to work with a client who seemed like this. It highlights the difference between genuine internal transformation and just, looking the part.
Right, substance over style.
Mhm.
And finally, in this section, she talked about setting boundaries, knowing your worth,
Mm.
referencing her experience with the CISF.
The Central Industrial Security Force. Initially, she offered them her expertise, perhaps as a way to build a relationship, maybe pro bono or low cost.
Okay.
But for any future work, she made sure to clearly state the value of her services and set appropriate professional boundaries, including fair compensation.
Good for her.
It just underscores the importance of knowing your worth and advocating for yourself, even when you're starting out or building connections. Don't undervalue your skills.
That's a powerful message. Okay, let's shift focus one last time to the psychology of perception. Canandley talked about the impact of feeling lucky. What was that about?
Yeah, this was fascinating research she cited. It suggests that people who genuinely believe they are lucky tend to, actually experience more positive chance opportunities.
How does that work?
She mentioned a newspaper experiment. Participants were asked to count the photos in a newspaper. Some identified beforehand as feeling generally lucky, others unlucky.
Okay.
On the second page, in huge print, was a message saying, "Stop counting. There are 43 photographs in this newspaper."
Huh. Obvious, right?
You'd think. But the lucky people were significantly more likely to notice this message and stop counting. The unlucky people tended to miss it and just kept diligently counting all the photos.
Wow. So the lucky ones were more open, more observant to unexpected opportunities.
Exactly. It's as if their positive outlook makes them more receptive, their perception wider. Belief actually shaped what they saw.
Amazing. She mentioned a similar study about tests too, right? Mindset affecting performance.
Yes, very similar principle. Two groups given the exact same test. Group A was told it was designed to be easy. Group B was told it was extremely difficult.
Same test, different instructions.
Right. And the results. The group who believed the test was easy performed significantly better. Their belief influenced their capability, their outcome.
Mindset really is powerful. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely. which ties into what Kananli said about identifying our own mental blocks.
How so?
Well, she gave examples of common negative self-perceptions, like someone believing they're just inherently short-tempered or fundamentally lazy.
Things we tell ourselves.
Exactly. The crucial first step is just recognizing these ingrained beliefs, bringing those subconscious thoughts into the light.
Becoming aware of the internal narrative.
Precisely. Once you're aware, you can start to question them, challenge their validity, and then actively work on cultivating a more positive, realistic self-image.
It's about catching those automatic negative thoughts and starting to reframe them. Now, Kanunli then brought up something interesting, the significance of the independent living phase in adulthood.
Yeah, that period between, say, leaving your parents' home and maybe starting your own family with kids.
What's so important about that phase?
She highlighted it as a critical time for developing essential life skills. Things like self-accountability, self-discipline, managing finances, running a household. Basically, being responsible for yourself.
Learning to adult, basically.
Pretty much. And her point was that skipping this phase, maybe moving straight from parents to living with a partner and having kids quite quickly, could potentially lead to challenges later.
Why?
Because those fundamental independent living skills, that self-regulation practice, might not have been fully developed and solidified first. It can make parenting and partnership harder down the line.
That's a really interesting perspective on a life stage maybe we don't think about enough. Finally, she touched on demeaning language and respectful communication.
Particularly the impact of negative communication patterns from parents to children.
Like what kind of patterns?
Things like constantly comparing one child negatively to another, or using harsh critical judgments frequently. This can really damage a child's self-esteem and affect their future relationships.
The words stick.
They really do.
Yeah.
She emphasized that even when you disagree with someone, your partner, your child, anyone maintaining a respectful nonverbal demeanor is crucial. Your tone, your body language. It all matters for healthy communication.
It really all comes back to being mindful, doesn't it? Mindful of the messages we send verbally and non-verbally and their impact.
Precisely, on ourselves and on others.
Well, this has been an incredibly rich, really insightful deep dive into this whole world of body language. We owe a huge thanks to Kanandli's expertise for shedding light on so much.
Absolutely. We've covered, wow, so much ground. From those subtle cues of attraction and deception to navigating social dynamics, cultural differences, and even the power of our own mindset and perception, all through that nonverbal lens.
But remember, for you, our listener, the crucial things are always context, those cultural nuances we talked about, and that really important self-awareness, both in reading others and understanding yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So here's something to think about. How might becoming just a little more attuned, more aware of your own and others' body language, how might that subtly but, powerfully reshape your interactions, the opportunities you notice?
That's the question we really want you to take away. What small shift, what tiny adjustment in your nonverbal communication could unlock a surprising aha moment in your very next social encounter? This deep dive is really just the beginning of understanding the silent language we all speak.
Ever,
Thanks for
catch
joining us.
someone's glance and just get a feeling like there's something unspoken going on?
Oh, absolutely. That subtle stuff, the nonverbal communication, it's everywhere.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at body language, using this really fascinating conversation with an expert, Kanan Tandali, as our guide.
And it's amazing how much we're actually saying without, saying anything. The signals we send, the ones we pick up on.
Totally. And we need to get past those really simple ideas, right? Like crossed arms always meaning someone's defensive.
Right. It's much more nuanced than that.
So our mission here is to pull out the practical stuff from this conversation, give you a richer way to understand what people might really be communicating.
We'll be looking at spotting potential deception, signs of attraction, power dynamics.
Confidence cues, even cultural differences. It's quite a range.
And it's not just about reading others, is it? It's also about understanding the signals we're putting out there. Self-awareness.
Exactly. That inside-out idea the expert mentions. Okay, so we know you want to get the insights without getting bogged down. Let's jump right into maybe the trickiest bit, spotting lies. Where do we even begin with that?
Well, the key thing, according to Tandley, is this concept of baseline behavior.
Baseline behavior. Okay, what's that? Like someone's normal.
Exactly. How someone acts when they're relaxed, comfortable, telling the truth. Their usual blink rate, their voice pitch, how much they gesture, that sort of thing.
So how do you figure that out?
You start with easy questions, things they've got no reason to lie about. Keep it neutral.
Like, what's your favorite sport? Or tell me about a good holiday, stuff like that.
Perfect. Low stakes.
Yeah.
Once you get a feel for their normal, then you might notice when things shift if you ask something more sensitive.
Okay, makes sense. Establish the normal first.
And then there's this idea of cognitive load.
Cognitive load, like brain effort.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Lying takes more mental energy than telling the truth. You have to invent the story, keep it consistent, monitor the other person's reaction.
That sounds exhausting.
It can be. And sometimes that extra mental effort makes people, well, freeze up a bit. Their movements might become smaller or stop altogether because their brain is just overloaded.
Huh. That's interesting. I'd almost expect more fidgeting, more nervousness.
And you might see that too. But this stillness, this reduction in movement, is another potential sign. Their mental energy is focused elsewhere.
Right. The transcript also mentioned subtle tells, didn't it? Like a shoulder shrug.
A tiny one, yeah. Almost imperceptible sometimes, linked to discussing a lie. And this is crucial, one single gesture means almost nothing on its own.
Okay, so no magic Pinocchio, no sign.
Definitely not. It's about seeing a cluster of changes. Multiple shifts away from that baseline behavior you established earlier.
A pattern, not a single tick.
Got it. What about those pacifier gestures? Touching the face and neck?
Ah, yes. Self-soothing behaviors. Non-sexual touching. Rubbing the arm, playing with hair, touching the neck. These often signal discomfort, anxiety, maybe a lack of confidence.
It's not necessarily lying, but feeling uneasy about something. Precisely. It indicates some kind of internal stress or discomfort. It could be linked to deception, but it could also just be general anxiety or lack of confidence in what they're saying.
The expert talked about analyzing two stories the interviewer told, right? One in Europe, one in a New York restaurant.
Yes, looking for inconsistencies. In the New York story, there was apparently more face touching from the storyteller.
And what did the expert read into that?
Less about outright lying, perhaps, and more about a potential lack of confidence or comfort with the details being recounted. The hand movements were maybe less fluid compared to the other story.
So subtle signs of uncertainty, not necessarily a big red flag for deception.
It's about nuance. And finally, there's the classic deflection tactic.
Oh yeah, just changing the subject entirely when asked something direct.
Exactly. Avoids the lie by just, well, not answering the question at all. Sidestepping.
Okay, lots to think about there. Let's shift gears. The transcript also got into the non-verbal side of attraction. Secret dating signs. What did it highlight?
One that's really fun is the eye gaze during laughter.
Laughter. How does that work?
When a group laughs together, apparently the person someone looks at first is often the one they feel most connected to or, well, interested in.
Huh. Okay, I'm definitely going to watch for that next time. What else?
Foot pointing. This was fascinating.
Feet. Really?
Yeah. When two people are talking, especially standing close, if their feet are both pointing towards each other, it's a strong subconscious sign of engagement and mutual interest.
Like their whole body is oriented towards that person.
Exactly. It shows where their attention really is.
So forget the eyes, check the shoes.
We'll check both. Increased touch is another one, though. Non-sexual touch.
Like a light touch on the arm?
Could be. But the expert adds a caveat. Context matters. Touch can mean different things. And then, of course, there's increased eye contact.
More mutual gazing. Holding the look a bit longer.
Yes. That tends to be a pretty clear signal of growing interest.
Okay, so we've covered lies, attraction. What about projecting confidence? Power dynamics. How does that show up non-verbally?
Someone who seems confident, who owns the room, as they say,
Yeah.
they tend to have a comfortable, open posture.
Not puffed up, but relaxed.
Right. Chest and shoulders open, not slumped. Chin may be slightly elevated. Their gaze is usually steady, direct, but not, intimidating.
Engaged but calm.
And the transcript mentions keeping hands out of pockets. Hiding hands can sometimes signal arrogance or maybe fear or just disengagement. Openness is key.
Makes sense. What about the opposite? What are those weaker signals?
Things like slumping, a closed-off posture, maybe what the expert calls passive listening.
Passive listening, like...
Looking around the room, checking your phone, not really nodding or showing you're engaged. Shifty eyes, too much fidgeting.
Yeah.
It can all project a lack of confidence or presence.
So being present, really being there in the conversation, is huge for confidence.
Absolutely. And the transcript stresses that real confidence isn't just faking the body language. It's that inside-out thing again.
Understanding why you might feel insecure.
Yeah. Understanding the roots of your behaviors, maybe past experiences, upbringing, rather than just putting on a brave face. Genuine confidence comes from within.
That feels right. Authenticity matters.
And interestingly, making other people feel seen, using your body language to show you're genuinely listening and interested in them, that can actually boost your influence and connection.
That's a great point. It's reciprocal. Now, this stuff isn't universal, is it? The transcript really highlighted cultural differences.
Hugely important. Misunderstandings happen all the time because gestures mean different things in different places.
Like bowing.
Exactly. In many Asian cultures, bowing is crucial for showing respect. The depth, the duration, it all signals status and deference based on seniority.
Very clear cultural marker. Any other examples?
Hand kissing was mentioned. In some Russian communities, apparently, a husband kissing his wife's hand is a sign of admiration, gratitude. But try that in many Middle Eastern contexts with someone else's spouse, and it would be completely inappropriate. Same gesture, totally different meaning.
Wow. Context is everything. What about the Indian head wobble? That came up too.
The head wobble. It's famously complex. The transcript notes it can mean, yes, maybe, okay, I understand, I'm listening, all sorts of things. Very confusing for outsiders.
I can imagine. Any theories on where it comes from?
One idea mentioned links it to classical Indian dance, a movement called Gravagala, and maybe it's seen as a softer, less abrupt way of signaling agreement or acknowledgement than a sharp nod.
Fascinating. It really shows you can't just apply one set of rules everywhere.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Even the okay sign we make with our thumb and forefinger.
Yeah. Thumbs up?
No, the circle one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine here. But in some parts of the world, like Brazil or parts of the Middle East, it's actually quite an offensive gesture.
Really? Good to know. It highlights the need for cultural awareness.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk compliments. The transcript had some interesting points on giving and receiving them non-verbally.
Yes. One key idea was to compliment taste or choice rather than just looks.
So instead of, you look nice, maybe, I love the color of that shirt on you.
Exactly. Or complimenting an accessory like a watch or necklace. It focuses on their personal style, their choices, which often invites more conversation. It feels deeper.
It's about acknowledging their personality, not just appearance.
Right. And there was a caution about compliments directed below the neck towards the torso area.
Why is that?
Especially early on, or in professional settings, it can be easily misinterpreted. Seen as too personal, maybe focusing on areas like cleavage, even if that wasn't the intent. That's avoided.
Stick to safer zones, like accessories or overall style choices.
Generally safer, yes. The transcript also mentioned how holding things like a drink or a bag in front of your torso can be a subconscious barrier if you're feeling uncomfortable.
Blocking yourself off slightly.
Kind of. Conversely, a genuine compliment on something chosen, like that watch, can be really effective because those items often have stories behind them.
Opens the door for connection. Okay, social gatherings. Can be tricky. Any body language tips from the transcript for navigating parties or networking events?
One really practical tip was about reading groups, figuring out if they're open or closed.
How do you do that?
Look at their feet. If everyone's feet are pointing inwards, forming a tight circle, it's likely a closed, private chat. Hard to break into politely.
But if some feet are pointing outwards?
That suggests the group is more open, more receptive to someone joining. It's like there's an invisible opening.
That's clever. A subtle way to avoid awkwardness.
Definitely. And when you do approach, make good eye contact, offer a genuine smile again, that comes from feeling genuinely open yourself.
The inside-out thing again?
Always. And here's a weird one. Standing near the food or drinks can apparently make you seem more approachable.
Really?
Well, maybe it makes you look less like you're on a mission, more like you're just casually there, relaxed, a point of connection.
Interesting. The transcript also warned against being over-available.
Yeah, the idea being that if you seem too eager or available to talk to anyone and everyone for ages, it can paradoxically lower your perceived value. Maintain a little mystique, maybe.
Don't seem desperate.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And for networking specifically, it suggested aiming for shorter initial conversations, maybe around 10 minutes.
Why shorter?
Allows you to meet more people, circulate effectively, rather than getting locked into one long conversation early on. Quality connections, but broader reach initially.
Makes sense for those kinds of events. Okay, there was also this bit about feeling lucky.
Ah, yes, the feeling lucky phenomenon. How our mindset influences what we notice.
The idea being, if you believe you're lucky, you actually become luckier.
Well, you become more likely to notice lucky opportunities that might have been there all along. The transcript mentioned a newspaper experiment.
Right, where people told to look for specific things missed other Bigger opportunities right in front of them.
Exactly. And the lucky people, being more open and relaxed, tended to spot those unexpected things. Their mindset opened their perception.
So belief shapes what you see. And it affects performance too, didn't it?
Yes, another experiment. People told a task was easy performed better than those told that the same task was difficult.
The power of suggestion, framing, our internal story matters.
Hugely. Which leads nicely into relationship dynamics. The nonverbal cues there can be incredibly powerful, for better or worse.
The transcript mentions some real relationship killers, non-verbally speaking.
Big time. Contempt was a major one, often shown by a slight one-sided lip curl or a nose wrinkle, like you smell something bad.
Oof, that sounds dismissive.
It signals profound disrespect. Disgust was another one. These emotions, expressed non-verbally, even subtly, can be incredibly corrosive over time.
Real red flags for the health of the relationship.
Absolutely. Also, body language that signals superiority. Looking down on your partner, dismissive gestures. It creates toxic imbalance.
And what was that term? Tooting.
Tooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was described as indirect complaining, like sighing loudly or making vague, passive-aggressive comments instead of addressing an issue directly.
Drives people crazy, that kind of stuff. Undermines real communication.
Completely. It all comes back to direct, respectful communication, verbally and non-verbally. Tone of voice is massive too, of course.
High pitch versus low pitch conveying different emotions.
Right. High pitch often signals more excitement, anxiety, or maybe less authority. Lower pitch can convey calmness, authority, seriousness. How you ask for something matters as much as what you ask for.
The transcript even analyzed world leaders, those high-stakes meetings. What came out of that?
Some interesting observations. Putin and Obama, for instance. Putin's leg dangling was noted as potentially projecting dominance or casual disregard, while Obama seemed more contained, maybe reserved.
Different styles clashing. What about Trump and Putin?
Trump was observed facing Putin very directly, even using a sort of pulling gesture during a handshake, which could be interpreted as asserting control.
And Modi with Putin.
That interaction was described as looking more friendly, less about dominance displays compared to the others, more mutual respect, perhaps.
Fascinating. And the dead handshake. That sounds awful.
It refers to when someone's non-shaking hand just hangs there, limp, during a handshake. It can signal nervousness, lack of confidence, or even that freeze response under pressure. No engagement.
Like they're not fully present. Zelensky and Trump came up too.
Yeah, there was analysis of an interaction where Trump apparently made a comment about Zelensky's attire right at the start.
A bit dominant?
Potentially interpreted that way, yes. And Zelensky's subsequent posture was seen as somewhat submissive. The expert also noted subtle nose flaring from Zelensky, which can sometimes indicate suppressed anger or aggression.
Wow, so much going on beneath the surface, even on the world stage. It's like a silent negotiation.
Absolutely. And speaking of analysis, the expert even turned the lens on the interviewer.
Huh. What did they say about the interviewer's body language?
Initially, perceived as maybe a bit short-tempered or fidgety,
Oh, dear.
but apparently that lessened over the conversation. They noted the interviewer became a very good listener and better at hiding any dislikes.
So, an evolution during the chat.
Seems so. Also, becoming more aware of their scope in the conversation, knowing when to talk, when to listen, showing respectful engagement.
It just shows we can become more aware and adjust our nonverbal communication. It's not fixed.
Exactly. We can learn and adapt.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener, if we had to boil it down, what are maybe 2 or 3 key takeaways from this deep dive?
Okay, first, really work on self-awareness. Notice your own habits. What signals are you sending out, maybe without even realizing it?
Good one. What else?
Second, be a better observer of others, but don't jump to conclusions. Look for patterns, clusters of cues, and always consider the context. One gesture rarely tells the whole story.
Right. No single tell.
And third, remember culture matters a lot. What's normal or polite in one place might be rude or confusing in another. Stay curious and sensitive to those differences.
Excellent points. Okay, here's something to really chew on. Think about how much communication happens without words. Constantly. What could change for you, personally or professionally, if you became just 5% more attuned to that silent layer of interaction?
It's a powerful thought. And maybe ask yourself, which specific insight from today really clicked for you? Was it the baseline idea, foot pointing, cultural differences. How could you actively try to apply just one of those things this week?
Maybe you'll notice those pacifier gestures or try complimenting taste over looks.
It's all about starting to observe more consciously. There are tons of great books and resources out there if you want to go deeper into nonverbal communication.
Definitely worth exploring.
And we'll be back soon with another deep dive, unpacking more fascinating aspects of how we humans tick.